My name is Dan. I'm 37 years old, and I was on the Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. Born and raised in Seoul, South Korea, I've spent most of my life juggling dreams and reality, much like anyone else. My parents ran a small bookstore in the city, where I spent countless afternoons surrounded by shelves of stories and adventure. That's probably where my love for travel began. Those books opened up a world for me long before I could afford a plane ticket. Life, as it does, carried me far from those dusty shelves. I graduated from college with a degree in engineering, met my wife, and moved to Kuala Lumpur for a promising job in aerospace manufacturing. We have 2 kids, twins actually. They're 6 years old and the light of my life. Every day, they remind me of the wonder in the simple things, like building forts out of sofa cushions, or laughing until milk shoots out of their noses. On March 8, 2014, I had to fly to Beijing for a work conference. I'd been reluctant to leave because one of the twins had been feeling under the weather, but my lovely wife insisted I go. "We'll be fine," she said, smiling as she tucked a note into my jacket pocket. It read, "Come home soon. We love you." I can still picture her waving goodbye at the airport, the kids clinging to her legs. The airport was bustling when I arrived. I navigated the crowd, rolling my suitcase behind me, glancing at the digital boards announcing departures. There it was, MH370, Gate C1, boarding at 11:35 p.m. The flight seemed like any other. Families were chatting, business people shuffled through their emails, and the flight attendants greeted us warmly. I found my seat, 27A, near the window. I leaned back, closed my eyes, and prepared for what I thought would be a routine journey. Takeoff was smooth. The captain's voice over the intercom was steady, even soothing. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain. We'll be cruising at an altitude of 35,000 feet. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight." I did just that. Dinner service came and went, and the cabin dimmed for the overnight leg. People settled into their seats, some scrolling through movies, others drifting off to sleep. I opened a book but found myself staring out of the window at the endless expanse of the night. Hours passed uneventfully, until something changed. Around 1:20 a.m., I noticed the faint hum of the engines seemed quieter. A flight attendant walked by, her face calm, but there was something in her body language, a subtle tension that made my stomach tighten. Then came the captain's announcement. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing some minor technical issues. Please remain seated and fasten your seatbelts." I looked around. Other passengers began to whisper nervously. The cabin lights dimmed further, and the in-flight entertainment screens went dark. The usual hum of conversation was replaced by an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional cough or shuffle of feet. Then the seatbelt sign chimed on, and the flight attendants quickly moved up and down the aisles, checking that everyone was strapped in. Something wasn't right. Suddenly the plane lurched. It wasn't a typical turbulence bump. It was a sharp, unnatural jolt that sent my heart racing. My eyes darted to the window. The sky was pitch black, but the faint glow of the plane's wing lights revealed a thick blanket of clouds. We seemed to be descending, or was it ascending? It was impossible to tell. My ears popped violently, and the air felt heavier. A man across the aisle leaned toward me. "Do you think?" He started, but his words trailed off, replaced by a nervous laugh. I didn't answer. My focus was on the flight attendants, who now whispered among themselves, their faces pale. They looked scared. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just turbulence. Something was seriously wrong. Around 1:30 a.m., the cabin lights flickered, and for a few agonizing seconds, everything went dark. When the emergency lights came on, the atmosphere inside the plane was tense. People gripped their armrests, and a baby cried somewhere near the back. Then came the second announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain calm. We're looking to resolve the situation. But the captain's voice sounded different this time. It was strange, as if he was choosing his words carefully. That's when the screens at the front of the cabin, which usually display the flight's progress, went blank. The comforting line tracing our route was gone. It felt like we had vanished from the grid. I overheard someone saying that the plane had lost communication with air traffic control. The thought was horrifying. How does a plane just disappear from radar? And where were we now? My mind raced with questions, but there were no answers. Just the growing realization that we were utterly alone, 35,000 feet above the earth. Hours seemed to pass in a surreal haze. People whispered theories, their voices hushed but frantic. One man speculated mechanical failure, while another murmured about a possible hijacking. The flight attendants remained tight-lipped, offering water but no real answers. The lack of information was maddening. Looking back, I remember snippets of conversations that now seem haunting. Could the pilots be unconscious? Someone asked. Another wondered out loud if the plane had been diverted to avoid some unseen danger. But the most chilling theory came from a woman a few rows ahead. What if we're just lost? Her voice cracked on the last word, and it sent a shiver down my spine. Lost? The idea felt too big to comprehend. Of course, I can't tell you what happened next, because I wasn't there to see the end. None of us were. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 vanished that night, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions in a world desperate for closure. In the years since, countless theories have emerged. Some say the plane was deliberately taken off course by the captain in a tragic act of sabotage. Others believe it was hijacked, perhaps by terrorists, or even rogue operatives. There are even more outlandish ideas: alien abduction, government conspiracy, or a freak accident involving an uncharted black hole. But the most widely accepted theory is that the plane ran out of fuel and crashed somewhere in the vast remote stretches of the Indian Ocean. Debris from the plane washed ashore in places like Reunion Island, but the wreckage and the full truth of what happened that night remains elusive. For the families of the passengers and crew, the disappearance of Flight 370 is more than a mystery. It's a wound that never fully heals. What happened to Malaysia Airlines Flight 370? We may never know. It's a story of loss, of questions without answers, and of lives cut short in the most bewildering way imaginable. As I sit here, telling this story, I can only hope that one day the world will find the truth. Until then, MH370 remains a ghost in the skies, a haunting reminder of how fragile we are in the face of the unknown.